not to be doing what he is doing. It can, from my point of view, only seem harmful to his career. He's making some statements that are, well, pretty outlandish. The latest being, in my opinion, about Neil Armstrong, that the moment he stepped off the lander, he saw alien craft all around him. And he didn't say anything for fear that his family would be killed. Now, that's an incredible statement, absolutely incredible. And yet you just heard it here on Coast to Coast AM. More of Dr. Greer in a moment. I really think if you were to do a survey of the American people above all, I don't know, age 30 or 40, you would find, and you asked, what is mankind's biggest achievement so far? You know, after walking on the planet, after building the industrial civilization we have, what is our biggest achievement? And I think without question, the number one item would be the fact that we went to the moon. A man stood on the moon. You may all remember those, I don't know, kind of blurry, jittery pictures that we saw of Neil Armstrong stepping off the lander onto the moon's surface. They should be indelibly inscribed in every memory out there. And to now know that there were detailed, high-resolution photographs, pictures, video even, of all of this, but somehow NASA has lost it, is a little difficult for me to swallow. A little difficult, very difficult for me to swallow. And here now we have Dr. Greer saying Neil Armstrong claims he saw craft, according to more than one source, all around him, alien craft, and was afraid that his family would be killed should he actually report that. Dr. Greer, you are an emergency physician. You have a lot to lose by making statements like this. You have a lot to lose by doing the kind of work you're doing. Maybe we should go back a little bit and try and understand what somebody with your professional background and accomplishments, why you would do what you're doing and risk your career.
Well, because I think that this is one of the most important areas that have been kept secret in human history. And it's not just that we're not alone in the universe, that there's intelligent life in the universe, but that there is a wondrous new source of energy and propulsion that has been studied, that has been perfected, and that has been hijacked from the people of the world, and that has led us now, of course, it's 9/11 on the East Coast, to this chronic oil addiction that has caused us to be decamped in the Middle East and to be damaging the biosphere and maintaining a world economic situation where 80% of the world's population lives in terrible poverty. And I think that this issue is related to all of that. And I think that when I came to realize the extent of the secrecy and what was really being kept from the public, it was something that I just thought I had to come out in public about. But, my interest in this goes back to my childhood. I had a sighting of one of these UFOs in broad daylight when I was a little boy, about 8 or 9 years old. And but years later, I had quite an extraordinary contact with a UFO and with the ETs on it. And I think that of course, altered my life tremendously. Certainly ranks up there in one of the most life-altering experiences of my life. I guess the one that would be even larger was a near-death experience I had when I was 17, about 6 months before this contact experience. And so for me, this is not just an academic issue. I know that there's intelligent life out there. Quite frankly, I know that it is benign. I know that we have tremendous advances in science and technology that, frankly, the taxpayers have paid for, and which is being hidden from us to the detriment of the development of the human race. I tell people that while many people think that what we're discussing sounds very futuristic, I said on the contrary, we're really trying to play catch-up, that the natural course of human evolution and societal development has been retarded for at least 50 years and maybe longer.
Doctor, let's follow up on the benign part because it is important in deciding how to respond to all of this. You said you know, quite frankly, that it is benign. How do you know that?
Well, we have, over 500 military and intelligence witnesses to projects dating from the 40s all the way in through the 90s and even more recently. Not a single one of them has reported anything that would indicate hostility, and yet we have numerous of them who have reported that we have used weapon systems to attempt to target and down, and in some occasions have successfully downed these extraterrestrial vehicles. I think that my own personal experience with the phenomenon is that it most certainly is not hostile. And I have to point out that not everything that we don't fully understand is necessarily a threat. And although it's natural for humans to be afraid of things which they do not control or fully understand, I think when you start talking about the weaponization of space and leaping to irrational conclusions about a threat from outer space, that one should really take a step back and look at the big picture. And the data doesn't support that. For example, we have the testimony on disclosureproject.org of Colonel Diedrichson, who was with the Atomic Energy Commission after a career in the Air Force, and he was in charge of all the nuclear facilities in the United States and nuclear processing areas. And he said every single one of these facilities were being observed by these UFOs in the 50s and 60s because he felt that they apparently were quite concerned about this destructive ability that we had discovered and the fact that we were beginning to go into space. He also confirmed that there was an attempt to fire a nuclear-tipped missile that would have traveled all the way to the moon and been detonated there, and it was intercepted by extraterrestrial vehicles as it became exo-atmospheric, meaning after it left the atmosphere. And there's no evidence, on the other hand, that they have turned around and done anything hostile towards us. And so I think that while there may be a great deal about these issues we don't fully understand, I think to reach a assumption of that they're hostile and that we need to respond in a violent way is an enormous mistake. And I think this is why it's important. One of the things I discussed with the former Minister of Defense, Paul Hellyer, up in Canada a couple months ago, is that it's very important for people like him and other people who have been in leadership positions around the world to combine, to look into this issue and to really attempt to put together a team of people to make peaceful and open contact with these visitors.
Yeah, I know that you feel that it's very important that we look into the energy aspect of whatever might drive these vehicles. And there was recently a story that had nothing to do with ETs or UFOs or anything else from Europe, and I kind of follow these stories, and I bet you're familiar with it. This scientist invited other scientists to examine a find he had made regarding something that would power motor vehicles, would power cell phones, would power anything you like. He had a workable model and invited scientists to examine it. Now, surely you know about this.
Yes, this is the Steorn group out of Ireland, and we are actively in dialogue with them, and we hope to have an opportunity to evaluate these claims at some point in the near future.
Do you know anything further about it at all? Do you know anybody who has yet looked at it and was able to in any way validate or stamp out this story, or what?
No, and this is something we very much want to get to the bottom of. I certainly hope it's true. Whether it is or not remains to be proven. I do believe that at least they're doing the correct thing by inviting scientists from around the world to actually test the system and validate it, and I should also say reproduce it, because that is the sine qua non of the scientific method, is that it needs to be scientifically reproducible and tested and validated by objective third parties. And I think when you're dealing with something this important, it needs to be multiple objective, independent third parties. And this is exactly what we have been pursuing in our investigation of these sorts of devices.
Well, it's certainly tantalizing because the way they're approaching it is it's very inviting to imagine it might be real. Otherwise, why invite everybody to examine it? So, it might be the real McCoy, and it's the first one I've seen in years that might be. I know you've examined many. How